Hey y'all, it's Trent Knox back with another Trent Knox show. It's been a while since I've done a Trent Knox show podcast, a Trent Knox podcast, pardon me. But I wanted to get on here and do one. And today is April 9th, 2019. Out here in the United States, the US of A. I know I got my collar popped here. I got a little chest hair hanging out. If you're watching the video, and I appreciate you guys for listening to this. Like I said, it's been a while since I did a Trent Knox show, podcast, whatever I'm doing here. Been listening to a lot of podcasts lately from, Joe Rogan, Gary Vee. I quit listening to a lot of the Joe Budden podcasts. Picked up the Tinfoil Hat, Sam Tripoli podcast. Been listening to the Theo Vaughn podcast, a little hit in there. Got the Nervous Rex podcast from that guy Rex Simon or whatever his name is. I've been wanting to do more podcast stuff. I've been growing my Facebook followers and been focusing mostly on work. And if you guys don't know, I've been doing gig economy work, Instacart and Postmates specifically, and I've been being able to kind of make some financial stability out of it, some income, some life, some job out of it. And I'm kind of in a weird place right now. I kind of don't know what I'm doing. I went to work and work wasn't financially lucrative. I was losing money the past 2 days and spending a lot of money in doing very little, not getting a lot of opportunities. The hours kind of got limited over the past 2 weeks on Instacart. Postmates has become more and more difficult to earn a living off of. But it has been making me a living. And I mean, it's not making me a millionaire or anything like that, or, making me $100,000 a week, but it has been able to, pay my bills and get me in a place in which I feel like at some point in time, I'm going to be more financially stable than I was before. And obviously this isn't my dream, to be doing this. My dream would be to be making, full feature films, recording podcasts, doing vlogs all the time, and making money while, pursuing my passion and what I've went to school for, and what I went to college for. And that isn't what has happened yet, but maybe in the future it will. I have been doing sort of like little videos and whatnot on this channel on YouTube, with Instacart tutorials and Postmates tutorials and tips and, different things to kind of diversify my content, other than just doing this kind of sitting here in front of the microphone, talking about, ranting on about my life and where I currently am at 25 years of age. It's kind of documentation in some shape or form for me growing up and looking back at where I was when I was 25 and where I'll be when I'm 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100, whatever it may be, 90. I haven't been able to play a lot of video games. I've been thinking about it. I've been watching, live streams on Twitch for things like Apex, Fortnite, the top games and whatnot, but I haven't been able to really get on there and enjoy as much as I would like to playing video games. And I just keep on getting, I more recently have been solicited in 2 different ways to go back and get more education, diversify or something like that. And recently, I was on Instagram and I clicked a link and it took me an advertisement to go look at MBA programs and getting your master's in business. And talked with the people, the administration there, and the recruiters there, and it was out of my financial well-being and being able to do that at $100,000 or whatever online, not even going in and sitting and experiencing the social environment of being at a university again. And then the alternative to that was, joining a club to go and pay $500 a month to go work on Hollywood sets to really ultimately not do what you ideally want to do, but make a sacrifice, and the initial sacrifice has got to be made by you, and there's no guarantee of employment. There's just always this sacrifice of something. And so this is kind of going along still with the financial aspect and what's going on in money with what I did today. First thing I did today was go to the bank. Actually, second thing I did. First thing I did was go to Wendy's and pick up a free single hamburger, Dave's single. And I got 4 chicken strips and a lemonade. I ate that. Then I went to the bank. And I was going to the bank with the intention to go there to get a secured credit card. I've been watching a lot of these videos online from people like Graham Stevenson, or Stevens, whatever his last name is, I don't know, about building your credit, because my credit, I made a lot of mistakes growing up. First mistake I made was I got a credit card and I wasn't having any income while I was in college. And I charged the credit card up. And I also got I got a store card for the military. And so I had 2 credit cards that I had no income to pay those cards. And so I was missing payments and things like that. I was in college. And then, I made some unwise decisions in spending the money that I was getting from scholarship and the post 9/11 GI Bill that my dad had granted me half of his benefits for. So I was able to pay for 2 years of my college through that, and so I was making a little BAH money, base housing allowance, BHA money, base housing allowance, to pay for, small things and whatnot. And I was supposed to save that BHA for paying for future years of college, but I didn't do that. So then I ended up getting another loan, a student loan, in which I had to have help getting that student loan. And literally that was the worst thing ever, because that student loan, I actually failed all the courses that I took that student loan out for. And then I also purchased a car. I then traded that car in for another car. and then I traded that car in for another car, so I had a depreciation of equity, all going on to the next, and the debt just kept piling up. So I had credit cards, student loans, and vehicle loans all in my name, and then all of a sudden, the credit card, I was paying the bare minimum on that. I had defaulted on the store cards, and then I had, the vehicle loan. No, actually, so store cards, credit cards, the vehicle loan, and the student loan. Paid the student loan off, was able to do that from Wells Fargo. Then I still have, my federal student loans that are on forbearance. So I had this vehicle loan that last year they were going to repossess my car. And I came to an agreement that if they wrote off the debt of the vehicle, then I would get the car refinanced by another bank. So they wrote off the debt, refinanced the balance, but from another bank. I had to ask for a cosign on that from my grandmother. In order to do that, I started making a little bit of money. I started paying it. I wasn't always able to, get that payment together. So since, last year in July, I've been on and off taking care of this payment. Actually August-ish, September time frame. Been paying this here and there, trying to get it done. And so finally I got it pretty much together, and I'm kind of in a sort of financially stable place. So I've been listening to this guy Graham Stevens about what credit really is, and what it means to have, that it's important to have a line of credit, whether it's credit or bank credit or whatever it may be, for a long time, but having a small utilization of credit with those lines of credit in order to show potential employers, potential leasing agents, potential buyers or sellers, potential people who are going to look at your credit and be able to give you a loan or approve you for renting an apartment, house, a building complex, or whatever it may be. And so I had the intent of going to the bank and paying a small, securing a small loan by backing it with my own money. And so when I went to the Chase Bank, I was unfortunately informed that Chase Bank 70 years ago quit providing the bankers, or quit providing people who bank there they quit providing secured credit cards. So my intent was to go there and establish history of credit with my bank, Chase Bank. But they don't offer secured credit cards there, or secured loans anymore. So what I ended up doing was, I just ended up leaving there and with some information about unsecured credit cards, and looking at what's available for me and options of still working around crediting with my bank. Yeah, so that's been something that's on my mind for a while now, and so I've been kind of looking at, how am I going to establish, my credit, because right now I have credit, but I don't have, I don't have long history of credit. I don't have, and the credit that I do have doesn't look like I'm a responsible buyer as much as I would like. So I'm trying to fix my credit, and it's step-by-step process, obviously. And I've been running into a lot of complicated situations where I've had to take out new loans to pay for repairs on my car and store cards in order to pay for those things. And as a result, kind of created a new line of credit that I gotta worry about for so much time. And that's pretty much where all my money's going toward right now, so that I can be able to make money through this gig economy jobs that I do, like Instacart and Postmates, Uber, Lyft, all of these online gig economy jobs where you sacrifice time for money. And I've been looking for a job that maybe a 9 to 5 or something like that I can earn a little bit of cash in order to not have to put so much depreciation on my vehicle, and be able to use that vehicle primarily for transportation and not for income. So that's been something that's on my mind, been focusing on that. I've been thinking about this podcast. I've been thinking about what do I need to do in order to, advance this podcast further. I've been thinking about, studios. I've been thinking about equipment. I've been thinking about staff. I've been thinking about, what can I do to kind of move the needle forward for future opportunities. And I haven't really figured out where I'm at with that. I need assistance in doing the podcast. I need people there to do the recording. I need people to be on camera. I need personalities to be able to do Austin Live and Local, or the Cyber City Media, Trent Knox Media, podcasts, video vlogs, movies, music, whatever that is that can kind of create a content flow. I gotta have people working and establishing themselves on the production side and also on the front of camera. So it's been a kind of a hectic thing. I've been looking at equipment for podcasting just to kind of elevate my home studio, from microphones to mixers to audio interfaces to various other different things to be able to execute. I went to South by Southwest, that's right, gaming, and I tested out some new equipment and cameras and whatnot that I wish I had made wiser decisions in the past. But hindsight's 20/20 when you don't necessarily know, when you're not necessarily the most cognizant or aware of what's on the market. What can you buy? What's out there that consolidates but also provides the most value, and what pieces of hardware will work with good software in order to produce good content. The audio, the visual, the tactile, the auditory, the optical, the palette. What kind of creates a a well-rounded, robust, valuable, consumable, yet consumable, but yet advantageously valuable for the end consumer, so that it's not just it's not just terrible. I'm missing the word for it, but it provides value, and it's just not a fluff piece, or candy coated, or just fast food, and it's actually something that people will look at as maybe something that had changed their lives. Was a it may be like a coffee table book that gets kept around, and people communicate about it in a positive conversation, and not just like people being frustrated with the cotton candy nature to it, or the bullshit. It's just bullshit, and people don't like it. But one of my biggest obstacles right now is that I don't necessarily know how to most effectively use my time. And when I say that, I'm not talking about how I create content. Well, yeah, I guess is a piece of it, but how to most effectively use my time in travel. I live an hour outside of the city, almost an hour outside of the city. Not necessarily once you get into the car, but it takes about an hour to get to Austin. And unless you don't take a shower, you don't brush your teeth, you don't put on cologne, you don't get dressed up, if you look like a bum, you get in a car, act like a bum, and you drive like a maniac, then you could probably get there and out of under an hour from where I stay in the north in Georgetown. And so when I make a decision to go do something in Austin, now I joke about a lot of things that I'm gonna do, but am I gonna? And I don't. I try to make a methodical plan toward doing something. That's why when I choose to go to an event like South by Southwest, ACL, Jambalaya, a Waterloo Fest, or whatever, I'm making a big decision, because let's say it's a three-day festival. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours of commute. That's 6 hours of commute there and back. And not to mention the time that I spend there. It's a huge commitment to go to an event where there are people there to network with, find romance with, to interact with, to learn from, to get to know, all those things. Because the town I live in, and this may be different from cities around the nation, around the world. The town I live in is part retirement community and older demographic of single to second child parents, first home buyers, in the lower economic class of the middle class. And I made a lot of mistakes growing up that have put me in this place that I'm at today. And I didn't focus my mind on how to properly spend my money, earn my money, and work towards a greater future for myself. Now, there was always this kind of overall conversation about you need to go to college, you need to get a good job, you need to have a good family, you need to be a good person, you need to do good things for your community, like these basic, there's no content, no direction, these basic things with no descriptive actions to accomplish them. So nobody educated me while I was in high school the way to build credit, the way to the consequences of doing bad business or not understanding business or not understanding finance. These things weren't communicated by the education system. The education system failed me, because we live in a capitalist society that's focused solely on money. While we have social programs, we don't live in a socialist society where everyone has universal basic income and everybody is being taken care of by the state. There are certain circumstances where individuals qualify for unemployment, SNAP benefits, a housing voucher, Section 8. There are certain circumstances where that's the case, but a majority of people don't receive those benefits, or they don't qualify for them because of some arbitrary state regulated or federally regulated reason. And so, like, my personal experience with the unemployment office of the state of Texas and the county that I live in has been negative, due to the fact that I have, had employers who aren't educated on how the unemployment that they pay protects them from unemployment insurance that protects them in situations in which they get an unemployment claim on them, and then they're stuck in a situation where their insurance rise or whatever the circumstance may be. They don't know the overall consequences. They don't know the system. They don't know the system. The employees don't know the system. So we're all confused as to how we're supposed to live in a society in which we're constantly in fear of when we're going to be thrown out into the streets. Whether you get laid off because the military industrial complex doesn't need you manufacturing this specific module that goes into, this specific bomb, plane, whatever, or the prison industrial complex doesn't need you to be manufacturing this certain lock that goes inside of this handcuffs that's imprisoning this this first time offender drug offender for marijuana, and the prisons and whatnot are filled with these, ridiculous, and I have thoughts on that, but let's not really dive into, that. I've had my struggles with the legal system, and I'm kind of looking at it now as it's just a money grab. And the police officers that are doing something that is of value to the people, more power to them. But the ones that are out there, commissioned officers getting paid based on their arrests of small petty bullshit, is ridiculous. The private prison system that runs off of independent contractors working for them to oppress other people with no federal identification. The system in which we don't have the state regulating right from wrong, because if the state regulated right from wrong, then we would be constantly fighting over what is right and wrong, which we are in our political system. But there's no sign of change from what we vote for. Our vote doesn't seem to immediately bring change or action. It seems like we're all against the privatization of the prison system because that allows nefarious characters to get into the business and create a privatized slavery system in which small drug offenders and jaywalkers are forced to go to jail or worse, prison, and then they're forced to do labor intensive activities that don't ultimately benefit the people, but they benefit the government hierarchy, and that money goes as tax write-offs for the wealthy and upper class. I don't make this. I don't understand why, people shouldn't be defined by the color of their skin, the clothing on their back, the car that they drive, the smell of their perfume, the this or the that. They should be literally judged based on the content of their character. Not everyone has to be, Michael Phelps or Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Serena Williams or whoever your idol is that's physically fit and out there, and gladiator, Spartan. Not everyone is fit to do that, but to look at everybody and judge them based on their physical characteristics is not the best thing to do. But at the same time, the system seems to be failing us. It doesn't provide us enough time, enough resources for us to be able to correct our health, correct our physical well-being, to work towards a better future for our next generation. It just seems like it's always depreciating. Like the more time that we spend focused on the frivolous stuff, the more we get away from the importance of why we do something, why we work out, why we do fitness, why we eat, why we sleep, why we're here, why are we always like the Kevin Hart Joe Rogan interview. It was, why is it that people highlight the negatives and not enough of the positives? You know, why is it that why is it that television shows like the darnest things that kids say, or America's Funniest Home Videos, World Star, Fail Army, The Chive, these things, these videos of people failing are the things that we most desire to enjoy. We enjoy looking at someone else's failure and not enough someone else's successes, because then we feel like we're failing ourselves, and it's just a building block to the next step. And when I look at these videos, these podcasts, that when I look back after I've recorded them, I always think to myself, like, that was not as successful as I wish it had been. I didn't say the right word. I paused too much. I didn't speak eloquently enough. Like, I used a paraphrase or some sort of way to kind of pause for a second to think about my next word, or what I'm really trying to communicate. And maybe the communication is that I feel lonely. Maybe I feel alone. Maybe I feel disconnected. Maybe not. Maybe these are things that I am feeling. I feel that the online life has become more online, more apply for jobs online. And if you want to go apply for a job that still is offline, you have to sacrifice money to go do that. And so the jobs that are currently in your community, because they have started doing online application, the more wealthy, affluent people who have money to just throw away and go and do a job can just do that, or have a financial resource supporting their other lifestyle, and the conditions that they have to meet in order to receive that, trust fund, is to have a low-end paying job. So then they work at Target or wherever, and they live in a luxury penthouse downtown. Makes me kind of wonder, like, what can I do in that competition. If I'm competing for a job and the employer doesn't see through that and see that their lifestyle is above the value of what that job provides them, then, like, what's the system doing for us? Going to work for Walmart, going to work for Best Buy, any of these major retailers, hiring people that live in towns or cities outside of the city that the retail location's in, or whatever job, manufacturing, whatever, that people commute to this stupid thing, and then ultimately there's no opportunities available for the people who have no income, the poor, to find an opportunity. So they're struggling in their town and they can't find anything, so they end up dealing drugs, they end up doing prostitution, they end up joining a gang or something like that, because that gang provides them with financial resources. That clan provides them with financial resources or the medication that they need to get through the pain that they're living with. And I don't know. There's not enough people educated on what their value could be to the online world. There's not enough education of what their value could be to the offline world. And so we're all kind of just floating ignorantly through this life or experience. And if we're lucky enough, we get to go to events, school systems, some sort of system, technical, to go to these places for someone to educate us. And then if we're really lucky, that educator is intelligent enough and speaks great, speaks eloquently, communicates well, great, and can infiltrate past those colloquialisms or those barriers, those communication barriers that have built up because we had these we learned things that were taught to us by people who were ignorant of the reality, or were secretive, or held communication, or were not knowledgeable, or ignorant of what what was really going on. And so therefore the way that they communicated or educated people was based on a system that other people who were not the most eloquent or they came from a community that didn't look at the overall picture, that they looked in the isolated observation of a small community, and rather they didn't have enough of diversity in order to get a better overall understanding. And then that overall understanding made that person more versatile as they transversed in different communities. However, we get to situations where we have a grade school teacher that is teaching a class of 50 or 25 and isn't able to properly communicate with every student. So then one student drops out, and then he or she never ultimately gets the education that they need to turn their life around, to get the cog to go, and then we have a failure, the weak link of society. And I hate to be the weak link. I hate to be the strong link. I'd hate to be the middle of the weak and strong link, the moderately strong and close to weak link, to being on the spectrum of good, great, bad, excellent. There's never enough perfection to go around. So we're always kind of competing for attention, acceptance, validation. And it became even worse when these systems were installed. Like originally, if you weren't a firefighter, a fireman, in the army, working for the government, a politician, these type of well-respected jobs, that validated a person, And then when technology came in, the validations weren't your occupation, but by how many people knew who you were and what you could sell. So the validation was acting, musician, artist, photographer, videographer. The art had taken over. So, and in that, a small demographic of that was politicians, the art of speaking, the communicators, the people who could think about subject matters and philosophize, that's not it, contemplate and come up with a philosophy on how things could be right or wrong, or wrong or right. And then, so now all of that's validated by a blue check mark on Twitter, a blue check mark on Instagram, a badge, a blue badge on Facebook, all validated by these online communities that are global. They're not only global, they're digital. So there's a lot of artificial, intelligently designed, non-materialistic, non-physical entities out there that depict physical entities like a dog, yourself, whatever it may be out there, that convolute what validation is. So someone can go out there and buy 200,000 followers and 150,000 engagement and whatnot from artificially intelligent computers and they're not just like it's like almost thinking that one computer is a dog Instagram profile, but on that computer could be 1 million dog Instagrams, and all of them are artificially intelligent enough to go out there and follow and interact and engage with other artificially created Instagram profiles. And then you over there that's just trying to build up your small community, when you see that Kim Kardashian photoshopped 1 million times woman that doesn't exist in reality, but is, out there on the interweb, and you're looking at it as if it's something that you could achieve. Maybe that you could go out there and, maybe you think that woman's out there, whether it's for sexual preference or for your own personal, like, desire to be that thing, and no one can ever accomplish that because it's statistically impossible. Like, that humans would reach that at our current state, in which we can't, on a global scale, manipulate DNA and manipulate our biochemistry in order to be whatever we want. Not at least on a commercial level, on a maybe like privatized government-backed layer, where the mad scientists are that are able to do that. Those conspiracy theorists, those people who are able to manipulate, alchemize, and do things like that, maybe there, but not commercially. I mean, we're able to put on VR, mixed reality, augmented reality goggles on a commercial level, and we can perceive, in a virtual world, those things, but it's not tactile. It's not in the physical world. It's in a virtual world. And as we progress on in the world, it will become more of a reality where the girl down your street, the guy down your street, the whatever gender you want to define yourself as, is able to manipulate their biochemistry, manipulate their DNA, manipulate these things in order to optically, realistically and physically be that thing that they define themselves as. They're not artificially, in a physical artificial way, putting on makeup or tucking their dick back or, putting contact islands or colored contacts, putting on a wig on, but they're able to actually manipulate the DNA code in order to grow red hair, change their eye color from brown or blue or whatever to neon green with red lines or whatever. I mean, you can kind of like, some would argue that the physical alteration is a change, but it's a top-down change instead of a internal change. Whereas, like, an internal change would be completely manipulating and over time changing the construction of the human being. So you internally manipulate the coding of the human in order to change the foundation of who they are, not through a means like production, but through a chemical or through an alteration of vibrations or waves or gas or some way to change the human condition. And a lot of it does start from the mind, though the mind doesn't necessarily have the tools to comprehend or be prepared for what's going on outside of the supervision of the mind, whether that's what we hear, what we see, what we feel, what we eat, what we touch, what we all of the senses, because we are limited bandwidth wise and proximity and accuracy wise to where we currently exist. Now, if we're able to alpha ray ourselves and use an alpha ray to teleport or copy our biochemistry and integrate into a artificially intelligent cloud system, then to 3D print ourselves, organically 3D print ourselves in another location, and then upload our consciousness to that body while the old body was disintegrated or passed through the artificially the cloud system and then printed in wherever we are in this new reality or dimension or whatnot. The complications with that is that everyone is now doing this on a commercial level. And if we continue to do this, the time continuum, the timeline and the way that people interact with each other will consistently be manipulated in a way in which there's no definitive line of narrative or understanding, in which we're all just batshit crazy and we're all just believing these wild, preposterous things, and no regulation is over this thing. So everybody every day is like manipulating their biochemistry. Everybody's off, just changing all the time in the nanosecond and manipulating themselves with nanobots and things like that. And we have no. It's sci-fi. It's a dystopian reality. And for those of you who live in rural America or Africa, in the middle of nowhere, anywhere in the middle of nowhere, out there in bumfucking Egypt, BFE, butt fucking Egypt, whatever you want to call it, and that's, pardon me, that's just like a colloquialism, and I am middle of nowhere in out there in the boondocks. That's something people say out here in the South of the United States of America. And I'm not trying to, make people crazy or anything like that, but the cities, they all have their own technocratic societies filled with all kinds of batshit crazy people, part of all kinds of bullshit societies. And there's no one ring to rule them all. There's no there's no perfect dick size. There's no perfect tit size. There are inconveniences and conveniences. And it's just a life of balancing these things. But when you hear some crazy shit and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do to protect myself from that crazy shit? And make sure that I don't get alpha raid and beta raid and Zelo raid or whatever, and that I kind of know what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life and have my shit together. Well, you're in for a fucking wild roller coaster, because shit's not that easy. And it's just like everyone wants to hide their indiscretions, but it's all going to be on record. Everything's on record. It's just how is it being manipulated? Who's looking at you? What's being looked at? Whether it's, your manager at your retail location that's got something over you because you fucked the new higher in the back storage closet, and there's a camera, and now that he can hang this over your head for corporate or franchise. You stole a cookie from the upper management cafeteria, so now you're being investigated for being the cookie monster, or people just want to fuck with you or something like that, and they want to accuse you of sexual harassment because you walk down the same corridor as Betty or Jack, and your bag grazed against your bag grazed against the side of their leg, and when they go back to the footage, when they go back to get that instant replay, they see that your pinky was just slightly out, and as your pinky, as you were walking, you had your headphones in, your pinky slightly touched her leg, and you physically sexually harassed her because your pinky touched her leg, or you as a man accidentally, the pinky touched the leg of this guy, or accidentally Diana touched Jim, or affectionately spoke, or whatever, some PC bullshit SJW shit, but then they gotta take it back to the tape. It's the tail of the tape, everything is surveillanced, big brothered. They got the fucking cameras in every single room. It's in the toilet, looking up your cooch and your gooch, and making sure that you poop the right way, that you're not using an alpha ray in a nefarious way, so that you're hiding your identity as a woman in your place of work. But then when you go to the bathroom in the woman's restroom, you pull out your alpha ray and you shoot yourself, and you become a man, and you rape the woman in the bathroom that's unsuspecting, and then you leave the room, you zap yourself back, and now Jim's Diana, and now Diana's walking around, oh, I'm not Jim, you know what I mean? And now we're all in this fucking weird sci-fi ridiculous world where everything has always been manipulated. So we run away from the society that we built up, these Babylons or whatever, these capital city or whatever, and metropolitan complexes, Prison industrial complex, whatever. All right, and we go nomad, we go off the grid, and then the world convolutes and everything. Now you're completely out of technology, and you revert back to Neanderthal because you forgot how to properly take care of yourself. But then, or the alternative, you just end up fucking building another Babylon out in the middle of nowhere. You take all of that technology with you, and then other people meet with you. They don't know about that shit, and then they learn about that shit, and then these people you weren't prepared to communicate to these people the consequences of creating crap, because you came from some weird ass fucking New York City down to little triangle blue box, Wyoming, created little triangle blue box city, and then you're the responsible for bringing it into the peace and tranquility of a place in which little Farmer John had been owning his 30 acres, but little to know that little Farmer John and everybody, this is the world we live in, is that we are parasitic to societies. We can be either a benefit to the society if we bring in the best of our cognizance, and we put it in, and we do the best that we can. But if we don't do that, then we ultimately fail the community at large. Or if we're not aware of what other people are doing, then those people can create that doomsday, the doomsday clock, and we're all just waiting for it to blow up, the bomb to blow up, and we're all aware that like global warming is something, but we don't know if it's 90% or 10%. We can't tell. We don't have the means to monitor everyone. If everyone was monitored, then who would be that one fail-safe person to be like, oh shit, we fucked it up, press the button, boom, reset? Who would be that person? And then that reset can't be a complete reset, because it has to be a reset that just turns the clock back 10 seconds and was like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Click it again. And then eventually someone's just clicking this button, this reset button, all the time, until maybe one time some other jerk off comes and clicks that button 5 seconds in the 5-second interval. And then some other jerk off 2.5 seconds. And another guy, and boom, boom, boom. And then all we have is just like a complete time standstill, and we don't know where we are or who's going to fix the issue of this continually reset button, reset culture. We are in reset culture. Forget cancel culture. We are in reset culture. We are in a culture where people are always resetting. No one's responsible. No one is held accountable for shit. They could fuck up the whole thing, like Hillary Clinton, kill some people in Benghazi, but never be held responsible for it. Send out fake emails. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it was negligence. And even if it was negligence, the fact of the being negligent should be a criminal act, held accountable for some sort of prison time. Maybe it's an hour, but that prison time should be documented so that people can feel at least slightly like something was done. Something was done. She was taken out of this person, this thing, whatever it is, the consequence of it was taken out of the place that they were supposed to be at and put into this 10-second, not an hour, not whatever, but they're responsible. Now this person is responsible for not pressing the button. Then we put that person in there. Don't press the button. You got to be here for 10 seconds. Don't press the button. Once you've sat there, the clock's right there. The clock is monitoring. Press it at 10 seconds. It'll open the door and you can get out. But nobody ever fucking waits to press the button at the 10-second mark. They always fail to press it at the 10-second mark. They fuck up. They're like, 5 seconds, click. And they want to get out of the situation earlier than they're due. So they're always fighting the system, or the system's always fighting them. And we're always just kind of going about ourselves, beating ourselves up all the time. And then ultimately the fact that we've beat ourselves up trickles on down to, the negative consequences for others. Some people are overcharged, the time does not fit the crime, or sometimes the crime doesn't fit the time, and it's like the perspective always is an important thing. Optics, what we see is what we believe. What we hear is what we fear. Everything wouldn't be as it appears. I mean, I don't know. But ultimately, I just wish there was more facts. You know, I hate the word conspiracy, or conspiracy theorist, or schizophrenic, or any type of itis, or anything that's labeled on someone, because it could be prematurely labeled on someone, and then they're you know, the argument of people saying that people need to be the government needs to label people with mental illness so that they can be captured and released upon this, like a sex offender. And I'm like, God damn, man, what kind of people get captured because of bad DNA and bad genetics, because of people marrying and having, you know, children with people that weren't the most intelligent, or by God they had children with their brother or their close to kin or something like that, and so ultimately their brain gets depreciated. And Lord Jesus, if we don't figure something out, there's just something has to happen. Something needs to take place so that we're not destroying our world all the time. I don't know what that'll be, but I think that's it. I think that's, you know, I don't want my world destroyed by some other jackass, and I don't want to be the consequence of someone else's world being destroyed. But I mean, I'm doing my best to make it, you know, this world be some place that I can be a positive member of society, a positive attribute to society, a positive member of society. I'm doing my best to be a positive member of society, and not the negative. I'm not trying to destroy society. I don't want to. I just want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to be good. And if not good, great. And if not great, excellent. You know, I want the better of all things. I want the betterment of society. I don't want the destruction of society. Too many people want that. Everybody wants to see the negative. I'm on the positive side. For that being said, thank you for watching this. This is the Trent Knox Show. In the description below, you'll see all of the links for every social media, the gig economy jobs, financial stuff. Go out there, check out those links. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit a like, and hit that notification bell to catch on the next episodes. Peace.